What if I told you that your brain is running on outdated software? Software that was designed 200,000 years ago, when finding a berry bush was the highlight of your day. But now you're carrying a supercomputer in your pocket, and every app on it was engineered by teams of PhDs to hijack that ancient software. The result? You're tired, but can't sleep. You're busy, but never productive. You want to focus, but your hand reaches for your phone before your brain even decides to. That's not a character flaw. That's dopamine, and your dopamine system is broken. But here's the good news. You can reset it, not through willpower, through science. In the next 12 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how dopamine works, why modern life has hijacked it, and the step-by-step protocol to take back control of your brain. Let's rewire. Let's start with what dopamine actually is, because most people get this wrong. Dopamine is not the pleasure chemical. Repeat that. It is not the pleasure chemical. Dopamine is the molecule of motivation. It's what makes you want things. It's the fuel behind every action you take, from getting out of bed to starting a business. Here's how it works in your brain. You have two neurons with a gap between them. A synapse. When one neuron fires, it releases dopamine into that gap. The dopamine lands on receptors on the next neuron, and the signal continues. More dopamine equals stronger motivation signal. Less dopamine equals you don't feel like doing anything. But here's the part nobody tells you. Every time you get a dopamine hit, the receptors on the receiving neuron get a tiny bit less sensitive. Your brain does this on purpose. It's called homeostasis. It's trying to keep things balanced. Think of it like volume. If you keep turning up the music, eventually your ears adjust and it doesn't feel loud anymore. So you turn it up more and more until the volume is maxed out and nothing feels loud at all. That's your dopamine system right now. Your brain's dopamine system evolved for one thing: survival. 200,000 years ago, dopamine was released when you found food, when you discovered something new in your environment, when you socialized with your tribe, or when you achieved something difficult, like hunting an animal. These were rare events. A big dopamine hit might happen once a day, maybe less. And in between, long stretches of low stimulation, walking, waiting, sitting by the fire, staring at the sky. That low stimulation baseline was normal. It's what your brain was designed for. Now fast forward to today. You wake up and reach for your phone. In the first 10 minutes of your day, you get more dopamine-triggering stimuli than your ancestors got in a week. A notification, dopamine. A like on your post, dopamine. A new video, dopamine. A funny meme, dopamine. An email from your boss, dopamine, mixed with cortisol, but still a hit. And here's the terrifying part. Every single one of these hits raises your dopamine baseline, just a little, but they add up. By noon, your baseline is so high that normal activities, reading, focusing, working on a project, feel genuinely painful, not boring, painful. Your brain is screaming, "This isn't stimulating enough, go back to the phone." That's not addiction in the dramatic sense. It's just your ancient software crashing against modern hardware. In the 1950s, two researchers named Olds and Milner ran an experiment that changed neuroscience forever. They implanted electrodes in the brains of rats, specifically in the reward pathway. Every time the rat pressed a lever, it got a tiny electrical jolt to that pathway. A direct dopamine hit. What happened next shocked them. The rats stopped eating, stopped drinking, stopped sleeping. They pressed the lever up to 7,000 times per hour until they collapsed from exhaustion. They would cross electrified grids, literally walk through pain, just to get back to the lever. Now you might think, that's rats. I'm a human. I have self-control. But the mechanism is identical. Your brain's reward pathway, the mesolimbic dopamine pathway, is almost exactly the same as a rat's. And the lever? It's in your pocket right now. Every swipe, every notification, every autoplay video, it's the same circuit, the same dopamine release, the same progressive desensitization. And just like those rats, you're not pressing the lever because it feels good anymore. You're pressing it because not pressing it feels terrible. That's the withdrawal, the boredom, the restlessness you felt during the 30-second test. So here's the million-dollar question. If your dopamine receptors are desensitized from constant overstimulation, how do you fix them? The answer is counterintuitive. You don't add something. You remove. This is called a dopamine detox, or more accurately, a dopamine fast. The concept was popularized by Dr. Cameron Sepa, a psychiatrist at UCSF, and the science behind it is surprisingly simple. Dopamine receptors, like most biological systems, adapt. When stimulation drops, your brain upregulates. It increases receptor sensitivity. It's like your brain saying, "Oh, there's less dopamine coming in? Let me turn up the volume on the receptors we have." This is the opposite of what happens with chronic overstimulation. Instead of desensitizing more, you're letting your receptors reset. Think of it like a noisy room. When you first walk in, you can't hear anything clearly. But after a few minutes of silence, you start to notice quiet sounds, a clock ticking, your own breathing. A dopamine detox does the same thing for your motivation system. It lets the quiet rewards, finishing a task, having a real conversation, reading a book, feel satisfying again. Here's the protocol. It's simpler than you think, but harder than you expect. For 24 hours, you eliminate all sources of artificial dopamine. Here's exactly what that means. No screens, no phone, not even for just checking. No TV, no YouTube, no video games, no music with headphones. Silence is fine, nature sounds are fine. No social media, no junk food, especially sugar and processed snacks. No pornography, no gambling, no alcohol. What can you do? Walk outside. Read a physical book. Paper, not a screen. Write in a journal. Cook a simple meal from scratch. Clean your room. Draw or doodle. Stretch. Talk to someone face to face, with your phone in another room. Sit in silence and do absolutely nothing. Now here's the hardest part, and the most important. When you feel the urge to reach for your phone, don't fight it. Just notice it. Say to yourself, "That's my brain looking for a dopamine hit." Then wait. Don't act on the urge, just observe it. Here's what happens. Urges have an expiration date. Neuroscientists have found that the average craving lasts 8 to 14 minutes. If you don't feed it, it fades, and every time you let an urge pass without acting on it, you weaken that neural pathway. You're literally rewiring your brain, one resisted urge at a time. Let me walk you through what's actually happening in your brain during the detox, hour by hour, because knowing the science makes it easier to push through. Hour 1. Your brain hasn't realized what's happening yet. You might feel a little bored, but it's manageable. Your dopamine levels are still elevated from the last hit. This is the calm before the storm. Hour 3. Now it gets real. Your nucleus accumbens, the craving center, is sending emergency signals. "Where's the stimulation? Give me something." You'll feel restless, maybe irritable. Your hand will reach for your phone automatically, phantom limb style. This is dopamine withdrawal, and it's real. Not dangerous, but uncomfortable. Hour 6. Something shifts. Your brain starts to accept the new low-stimulation environment. This is when receptor upregulation begins. Your brain isn't fighting the silence anymore. It's adapting to it. Here's the key insight. The discomfort you feel at hour 3 is not a sign that the detox is failing. It's a sign that it's working. That discomfort is the healing process. It's your receptors waking up. Hour 12. This is where most people report a strange sensation, clarity. Without the constant noise of notifications and content, your brain starts to generate its own thoughts again. You might remember something important you've been putting off. You might have a creative idea. This isn't magic. It's your default mode network finally getting a chance to do its job. Hour 18. The restlessness is mostly gone. Reading a book, a real paper book, actually feels engaging again. A walk outside without headphones doesn't feel boring. It feels present. This is what a regulated dopamine system feels like. Most people haven't experienced this since childhood. Hour 24. Detox complete. Your dopamine receptors have begun to recalibrate. Not fully, that takes weeks, but enough that you can feel the difference. Food tastes better. Conversations feel richer. Even simple activities, washing dishes, folding laundry, feel less like chores and more like just things to do without resistance. One 24-hour detox won't permanently fix everything, but it will show you what's possible. It's proof of concept for your own brain. So, what does this look like as a long-term strategy? Because one detox day won't change your life if you go right back to 8 hours of screen time on Monday. Here's the sustainable approach. Do one full 24-hour detox on a weekend, Saturday or Sunday. This is your hard reset. You're going a full day with zero artificial dopamine. It will be uncomfortable. It will be worth it. Then, during the week, implement what I call low dopamine windows. 2 to 3 hours every evening, say 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., with no screens, no junk food, no stimulation. Use this time for deep work, reading, exercise, or just being bored. The boredom is the medicine. I'm serious. When you're bored, your brain can't outsource stimulation to a screen. It has to generate its own. That's when creativity happens. That's when you process emotions you've been avoiding. That's when you actually think. And here's the most important rule. No phone for the first 60 minutes after waking up. Morning dopamine sets the tone for your entire day. If you spike it with notifications and content before your brain has fully woken up, you're starting every day from a deficit. First hour of the day equals no inputs. Just you, the morning, and whatever your brain naturally gravitates toward. Let's talk about the difference between cheap dopamine and real dopamine, because this distinction changes everything. Cheap dopamine comes from consumption. Scrolling, watching, eating, clicking. It requires nothing from you. It spikes fast and crashes faster, and it leaves your baseline higher than before, meaning you need more next time to feel the same thing. It's a debt-based system. You borrow pleasure now and pay for it later with depleted motivation. Real dopamine comes from effort, exercise, learning a skill, finishing a difficult task, having a deep conversation, building something. These don't spike your dopamine as dramatically, but they don't crash it either. They raise your baseline slowly and sustainably. It's an investment system. You put in effort now and collect motivation later. The goal of a dopamine detox isn't to eliminate dopamine from your life. It's to shift the balance from 90% cheap dopamine and 10% real to something closer to 20% cheap and 80% real. Because here's the truth. The people who seem naturally disciplined aren't fighting harder. They've just trained their brains to get dopamine from the right sources. Here's what I want you to do. For the next 30 days, commit to 3 things. 1. A full dopamine detox every Saturday, 24 hours, 0 artificial stimulation. 2. No phone for the first hour after waking, every single day, no exceptions. 3. A 2-hour low dopamine window every evening. That's when you do the real work, the thing you've been putting off. If you do this for 30 days, here's what will happen. Your focus will sharpen, not because you're trying harder, but because your brain is no longer starved for the next hit. Your sleep will improve, because your evening screen elimination lets melatonin do its job. And, most importantly, the things you want to do will start feeling like things you actually want to do. Not obligations, not chores, just the natural next step. That's a regulated dopamine system. That's your brain, rewired. The fact that you made it to the end of this video tells me something about you. You're not looking for a quick fix. You're looking for the real thing, understanding how your brain works so you can make it work for you, not against you. If that sounds like you, hit subscribe. New videos every week on the science of self-improvement. No fluff, no guru nonsense, just how your brain works and how to upgrade it. Drop a comment below. What's the one cheap dopamine source you're going to eliminate first? For me, it was Twitter. Let me know yours. And if you're ready to go deeper, the next video is about building self-discipline that actually lasts. Not motivation, not willpower, but the neuroscience of doing hard things consistently. You're going to want to see that one. Until then, understand your mind. Upgrade your life.